Welcome to the Clyde FC Podcast, brought to you by A State of Mind. I am live on site at Broomhill Stadium to hopefully build up a wee bit of excitement ahead of a big match tomorrow. But first, we do have the somewhat unfortunate having to go through the last week. I can't think of any words to say without swearing, quite frankly, guys. It's been a tough week and a bitterly disappointing one for the Bully Wee. We ended last Saturday on a bit of a high after a dramatic finish up in Angus, and it finished on Wednesday with a pretty terrible result in the Challenge Cup away to Broomhill. To dissect this week, I am delighted to be joined by Graham Murray, John Boyce and Rory Holmes. Unfortunately, we were due to be joined by Craig Black. However, one of our main men is currently holed up and recovering from COVID. So best of wishes to yourself, Craig, and get back up on your feet and on the show again soon, sir. So if Craig thought that getting COVID was going to be the worst thing of his week, Clyde had other ideas, gentlemen. Coming to yourself, coming to yourself, Rory, first. What were your overall thoughts on the week of football?
If we start off Saturday into the Montrose game, personally, I came down the road driving that motor like I was about 10-year-old bouncing off the roof. Like I was as hyper as you can imagine. So looking back at the overall performance, I thought first half had done all right. We were quite tight, done well defensively. Second half, 2 shocking goals, very poor, but we showed fighting spirit. We never gave up, and then we came away with a point. And given the sort of manner of the goals, it felt like a victory. Sorry, so I was buzzing. And then I just think that it's early days. There are tweaks that should be made or can be made, but we were looking all right. Like I never had too many complaints. Fast forward to midweek, then obviously people have difference of opinions. But in terms of the league, to come back, show the fighting spirit, I thought it was a decent afternoon.
Yeah, boys, I'll throw the same question your way. What were your overall takes this week?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, we've not won a game, but I think, like Rory, I was coming back down the road absolutely buzzing. You know, we didn't put in a great performance up until maybe, the last 10 minutes, but we managed to come away with something. And you can't expect the boys to do that every week. So thought, we'll maybe go on to Broomhill and, win comfortably, but that didn't happen. Me personally, I think that it's a cup competition. Maybe the focus is now on the league, obviously. And the boys that started that game were maybe fringe players, but you would still expect, those fringe players to do well against Broomhill. So, yeah, that game was disappointing, and I think, like Rory said, a few tweaks definitely need to be made. What those tweaks are, I'm not too sure. Maybe, the fans will give us some ideas tonight in the comments. Please get involved. But yeah, I think a mixed week overall, but certainly looking to Saturday to hopefully get that win.
Yeah, and lastly, Graham, come on, give us a dusting of positivity here. Let's try and not kill the show before we hit 5 minutes live.
Well, thankfully I'm next door to you at Broadwood, so there shouldn't be any kind of death by Wi-Fi. That's usually the case with me.
There's still time.
There's still time. But not echoing what Rory and Boyce were saying there as well. It definitely felt like we were driving back down the roads, albeit via some very strange routes. With some positivity, because we'd got a point out of a game with 5 minutes to go we were getting nothing from. I would say that we're talking about tweaks and formations and stuff like that as well. I would give some credit to Danny, for the substitutions made last Saturday. As critical as I was of him the previous week for not making any changes, I thought credit was due for the changes made, although somewhat the hand was forced. But in the other breath, you look at the first half, and whilst it wasn't maybe the most attacking formation, it certainly stifled what is a very good Montrose team, narrowed the park, made them try and ping, 60, 70 yard diagonal balls, which, when you've got a centre half like Sean Dillon, he's capable of that, but we managed to limit that, and we even probably had one of the better chances ourselves, and when we broke away and Goody possibly, I think he just played the ball slightly behind Barry Cuddihy when we were through and goal. But the first half, there wasn't much in the game. Then, as Rory said, some really, really basic and shocking defending gives them a two goal cushion. And this is the thing that really, without trying to be negative, but we are not losing any worldies. Every single goal that we have lost this season is, I would debate whether my grandson, who's 3 years old, could probably defend better in some of these circumstances, and that's a bit harsh. But we're not losing to great play or good combination play. It's basic defending or basic, formations. Picking up men at corners, headering a ball in the direction you're facing. These are things that they should be getting worked on. I'm sure they will be getting worked on in training. But for whatever reason, there's a fear of being able to do it during a game, and we can't give teams like Dumbarton a start of our own goal when there's nothing in the game, which is totally avoidable, and we can't give away penalties for next to no reason. So we've got to get the basics right first, so that we can properly judge our 90 minutes, because we've not been able to do that so far. And I wasn't at Broomhill, so I can't comment on that. But the one thing I would say is we did build up some momentum at the end of the Montrose game. I was slightly surprised that we didn't utilise that cup competition or not to try and build upon that momentum and keep the players that finished that game at least in that frame of mind to try and go out and get some much needed confidence.
Yeah, just there's a couple of comments coming in, and as Boyce said, please do get involved. Unfortunately, we won't be able to bring your comments up on screen with us being remote, but we will raise your questions and points as they do come into us, so please do continue to get involved. On Wednesday night, Mark Stewart raises a point here saying that other than David Mitchell and David Goodwillie, we pretty much played the second half on Wednesday with what we would class as close to our first team and our first 11. I don't think that's unfair to say. Boyd said it was probably, we finished that game as strong as we probably are.
Yeah, when your guys coming on like Splain and Cuddihy and the others came on, I thought that we definitely bolstered the team, obviously. We definitely played better than the first half. That wasn't a great first half. I'll just end it there. But looking at the stats at the end of the game, we had 20 shots, 2 on target. Personally, I didn't think we tested the keeper enough. He's made a save in the 90th minute that we should really be testing him before that. And I don't know what it was on Wednesday, but things just seemed off. I don't know if it was because it was a cup competition or what, but I just didn't think that we really took to the game at all. But yeah, I can see how some Clyde fans would be worried about that result, definitely.
On the flip side of that, though, on the flip side, if you look at the actual starting team, from the Saturday to Wednesday, we made 9 changes. So my biggest frustration from Wednesday wasn't actually the defeat, as daft as that may sound. My biggest frustration where you've got fringe players who, the likes of Owen Andrew and McGrath that started the game, the fact they came off at half time, they weren't able to put their own mark on the match. They never really impressed, they never done anything. That's where my biggest frustration was, is for these sort of squad players, you want them to be doing better. Like, I don't want to obviously pick out just 1 or 2, but when you think these boys have been brought in, they've obviously been trusted to do a job, and if you can't do it against Broomhill, no disrespect to them, because I thought they'd done all right. They set up quite well, stopped us playing, but you would expect a lot better from these sort of fringe players.
Yeah, I've got to agree, Rory. Going to that game, I was really excited to see, as you've mentioned, McGrath and Andrew, who come with they're quite highly regarded at their previous clubs, and I would have liked to see them get more than the 45 minutes that they got. These are boys that will want to do better themselves. I think on this podcast we're very open and honest about our feelings towards the players, and it comes with that respect towards them as well, and they'll know that as well. They didn't put in the best game, albeit it is one game. As Graham mentioned, we've not really seen a full game that we can push forward and go at it. I thought against Montrose we started well. We've kept one of the better teams in the league 0-0 at half time. Certainly better than how we started the game against Dumbarton and some previous games to that. We were conceding early goals, and we just lost some cheap goals. But back to Broomhill, I thought that I just really wanted to see a bit more from the French players, as you said, Rory. Graham, how did you feel about the game? I know you said you weren't at it, but just overall thoughts from the game.
Yeah. Just to pick up on Mark's comment there as well about the strong, finishing lineup, but we're still 1-0 down, and we're playing against a team by all accounts are defending for their lives, and all credit has to go to Broomhill for that and the way they set up. But as Rory mentioned there's an opportunity there for players that have come in to stamp their authority on it. I personally, as I mentioned earlier on, I wouldn't have changed things as much as making 9 changes, because of the way that the season had started and the fact that we beat Stranraer, and that's basically our only victory this season, barring the North Lanarkshire Cup. So I think even getting a point up at Montrose felt like a victory. So to build upon that, so it's a little bit. You can tell, with the second half, regardless of who the team were, you're a goal down and you're chasing a game. And you're panicking, you're making wrong decisions, as Danny alluded to in his post-match comments. So, in that regard, you're actually looking at the starting 11, who was selected, and the ones that were selected, what they did at that point in time, and the defending for the goal, which obviously was seen. So that's the crux of your problem, not who started the game, not who finished the game. It's how you're playing and how you're getting tested in key moments and how you're performing at those particular times that we've got to improve upon. The personnel are there, but again, when you're chasing a game against a team that's defending for their lives, we've seen it. It used to be, showing my age here, but all the games against Stenhousemuir, for example, they would go a goal up when Terry Christie was the manager, and then they'd just park the bus. And Clyde have been always notoriously really bad at breaking down teams who park the bus, and that's by all accounts what happened the Wednesday night. So, personnel aside or not, we've got to get into a position where we're not going 1-0 down to Broomhill or 3-0 down to Dumbarton or 2-0 down to Montrose. That's where the problems are just now.
Yeah, so I think we're probably best just then covering off the Broomhill match just now, and we'll work back to the bread and butter stuff and break down the Montrose game in a bit more detail before we look at the Alloa game. It was very much kind of night and day, but I say night and day in the second half. There was improvement, but I'm probably clutching at straws here a wee bit, Rory. I know you weren't panicking perhaps at full time, as I'm sure you're going to draw to attention that I was. Did you take any encouragement from the second half shown? We created some chances, but nothing overly clear cut. And I think, Boyce, you said 2 out of 20 shots were on target. It's not good enough.
When you look at those stats, so it might be 2 on target, but on another day, it could have been 4 or 5 goals. It's easy to say, if only that went in, if only this had happened. But at the end of the day, their defender cleared one off the line. There was a few goal line scrambles in and around the box where it fell to Ali Love. We hit the bar twice, and Robert Jones slid one off the line for them as well. So that's 4 or 5 chances right there. And I don't want to be critical of the big man. I think it was him that hit the bar twice. For all there was a bit of criticism towards him, I thought that right throughout the game, he was always trying to do the right thing. He saw the right ball. Just at times the execution wasn't the best, but I just get the feeling that once he gets going, more game time, or if one of those chances falls for him and he bags it, he'll take off. I think he's, with no fault to his own, he's a sort of easy target at the minute, following Dumbarton. He never decided he was playing up front, and the likes of Goodwillie, then first half especially, was out of position. So because you've got Goodwillie out of position, you just look at the man, who's in his place, why is he there? And then if it doesn't work or he doesn't score, I personally think he's been made out to be a bit of an easy target. First half as well, he got the ball in, he flicked it over the defender's head, brought it on the chest, but then the finish wasn't there. But the actual build-up playing to get in those positions, I would like to see him get a goal in the next week or two, and then just see where he can go or where he can take us.
Just on that, around maybe the contribution of Rob Jones so far. So we've scored 6 goals in competitive games to date this season, and he has been directly involved in 4 out of the 6. So there are absolutely elements of his game that can improve, but I would go as far as saying that that's pretty much across the board from any player that has pulled on a white jersey or a black and red jersey so far this season. Your final statement, or part of your statement when you're mentioning maybe chopping and changing, moving players about, leads me to a question that's came in. So should Danny take some criticism for the chopping and changing from Saturday instead of consistency and not playing people in their natural positions? Boise, you can take this one first.
I'm not too sure. I mean, I know that Danny liked to experiment in pre-season with a lot of different players, and we saw that. Obviously, you want to test your different systems. I think for the cup competition, I'm not going to criticise him for it. I think it's the type of game that you want to play your fringe players in, and they should be showing that hunger to want to get into the first team, especially after the start we had to the season. Maybe it was an opportunity for some of them to put their stamp on it and make their way into that team. I thought Jones has done really well the last couple of games. You can see that he's trying. He wears his heart on his sleeve. You can see him shouting, trying for everything. Rory, you mentioned the flick over the top and the unlucky finish. He also tried an overhead kick as well, which, if it goes in, he's a hero, What an effort.
He nearly sent the defender in, to be fair. He nearly put the defender in the net, mind you, but it was a good attempt nonetheless.
Yeah, and how raging would Goody have been if it did go in, eh? But no, I don't criticise Danny for that. I think you've got to give your fringe players a chance, and at this stage of the season, everyone has to show why they want to play for this great club in the starting lineup. So yeah, not a criticism from me.
Okay, Graham, over to you.
Why not? Why does he not deserve to be criticised? If players are getting criticised for their performance, this is a collective effort. If the boards and the budget and everything else under the sun is the reason why we started poorly, then why is Danny immune? And he's held his hands up himself to say he's made mistakes, and he's trying to get a system in place to get the right team on the park. So I think he'll be the first one to say that he is worthy of criticism for the way that we've started the season. And why not take that? He's taking that criticism. He's taking full responsibility for the result the other night. It's a collective effort. So if the players, I feel, from what Lynn was saying there, yes, we're not managers. Danny's an excellent manager. He's got a great track record. Okay, I'm not sure the Goody free role is working. Okay, I think if you've got a centre forward who's possibly the best outside the Premier League, play him in his best position, regardless of who else is in the squads. But that's me, and I'm not a manager, so that I can see the benefits of it. But yeah, I think playing players out of position is a worthy criticism. Okay, that I think Danny will take on the chin and take on it to say, yeah, it's maybe not worked just now. There's no criticism for actually attempting it. I'd make that clear. But if it's not working, then it needs to get back to basics and get our best players playing in our best positions to get us the best results. So yeah, the criticism, everybody, I did tweet out on Wednesday night that everybody at the club needs to have a look at themselves after that particular result. It's not the worst result we've ever had. I've been at Peterhead in '86, Inverness in '91, Fort Martin, Fraserburgh. I've been to all these places at great personal expense, especially to my dad, because he probably paid for the petrol those times. But those are far worse results. Spartans in the cup as well. But it's on the back of a pretty lacklustre start to the season where we've had one victory. So the criticism of Danny is there, but it's widespread. It's everybody at the club has got to try and get everything moving in a better direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, just to clarify, Danny is not immune to criticism. My point was that I didn't think he should have been criticised for chopping and changing the team in that cup competition. That was what the question was. I think I would maybe criticise Danny if the players don't start performing, because that is his team. That's the team that he has brought in together. But just so that I'm not seen as a happy clapper.
And just a couple of the comments, and there's a theme obviously along on the lines, especially with the Broomhill performance. So Mark Stewart's getting involved. Thanks for getting involved, Mark. And he says absolutely Danny Lennon should take criticism. Wednesday was the opportunity to get a win and some much needed confidence ahead of tomorrow. Instead, we're now going into it with the confidence shot, and there is a feeling of that. Hopefully the damage isn't too significant. Tomorrow we'll come to. It's going to have its own challenges. There'll be various different elements to tomorrow as well, which I'm sure Clyde fans will both enjoy and potentially not look forward to. Let's focus on Montrose then. We'll try our best to draw a line on the Broomhill debacle. We'll call it that and move on. It was a Challenge Cup.
We do move on. Sorry.
Right, okay.
Graham said it wasn't the worst result in the club's history. However, according to Twitter, a Mr. Paul Shanks tweeted that is right up there with the worst results in the club's history. So what?
Yes, Paul, explain yourself.
Right, who invited this guy on? No, to be fair, right, I will absolutely. I'll nail my colours to the mast. I think in the aftermath of that particular performance, the emotions were high. You lose to a team. I think it was Mark Stewart in the comments that I think they'd won 1 out of 6 in the Lowland League. They were sitting maybe 5th or 6th from bottom. You apply a lot of the kind of context behind it, and it doesn't look good on paper. But there's no way we can polish that to be anything other than that. It was maybe with some hindsight when you start looking at some of the other results, Graham. You've mentioned quite a few. That there's certainly others that can challenge it. I do think if it was in a different competition, it's a different conversation, and I would put it right up there. The Challenge Cup, I think it has maybe lost a bit of its charm over the years. There's been, again, this just to emphasise, this is my own opinion, not necessarily that of the club. The introduction of, say, the cold teams has obviously went down like a lead balloon and amongst a lot of fan bases. So getting put out the Challenge Cup doesn't really normally it doesn't have you reaching for the panic button normally, but I don't know, it felt a wee bit different for me on Wednesday. So yeah, I'll hold my hands up, Rory. I absolutely did say that, and to a degree I still stand by it.
The way I look at it, it's a game that you're fully expecting the team to win. Going through, before I saw the team lineup, I thought it'll be great to get the confidence going, hopefully get good at a few goals and then build the momentum. But then leaving the ground, it was a frustrating night. There's no escaping that. But then when I saw a lot of the reactions of total embarrassment, worst result in their histories, calling for Lennon's head, and that Derek McInnes of all folk that was a suggestion should come in. But when you look back at the Challenge Cup, I would just like to ask or see if any of you are actually aware. So in the last 10 years, out with Wednesday night, how many times have we progressed from round one?
I would say twice.
Boys, Graham, any idea?
Less than a handful.
Correct. We've only went through twice. So to me, that just shows the way that we look at the competition. A lot of clubs, it's not. If that was the Scottish Cup or the league and we'd performed like that, I would have been outside Broadwood. I would be wanting heads. But you need to take it into context. In that last 10 games, it's included a 5-0 home defeat to Partick Thistle Colts. It's a bunch of school kids. There wasn't the same outcry after that. We went to Hamilton the year after, get beat 4-0 off their kids, or 2 years after, sorry. But then after being beat 4-0 off Hamilton, what did we do that season? We got promoted. So it's obviously not great. You want wins, you don't want defeats, especially not against teams further down the leagues than you. But to me, it's not the end of the world. And if we get things right, we get a result tomorrow, we look up, we look forward, and then we can forget about it.
I think just to put a wee bow on this one as well, I think possibly the most frustrating part of it is you're looking to see where your challengers for positions are going to come from. Like Owen, Andrew and McGrath, okay, and even Kevin Nicol playing in the middle of the park. That's possibly the more disappointing thing. We could rhyme off 8 or 9 players that are very good, if not extremely good at this level, that could walk into most teams in the division. It's what's beyond that that's probably concerning, and maybe the concern from Wednesday night. Of course, there's been a severe overreaction in a lot of places and comments tonight, but what you've got to look at as well is there was opportunities for guys to step in and stake a claim to say, I'm going to push for a starting position even as early as tomorrow, and that's the disappointing thing. So, yep, we've got a good starting 11 that need to get their act together, but the worry is maybe what's in reserve now. So if there is bookings or there's injuries and stuff like that as well, do we now have a squad that's capable? And that's possibly the only concern. But you're spot on everything else you say, Rory.
Just on that, you're getting more praise in the comments, Rory. Scoops is joining us. Welcome, Scoops. Rory, hard-hitting journalism, asking the questions people want to hear. The Piers Morgan of Cumbernauld. It might not be the first time.
There's a title.
Is that the first time you've been referenced with Piers Morgan? Dare I say it, Rory? And dare I say you probably were the last.
TV anyway.
Right, so you put the bow on it. Are we happy to draw a line under Broomhill and try and forget that it happened as best we can?
Well, one more thing. We haven't spoke about our newest signing, our centre half, Matty Eldston. Yep. I thought he was quite good against Broomhill. I mean, he won his headers. He was aggressive going forward, and he seems to like to play the ball out from the back. So hopefully he can be a good addition. I think he's played at a decent level as well, down in Middlesbrough and then coming up to Inverness. So welcome Matty, and hopefully he can do the business for us at the back.
Yeah, one of the few, I would say, definite positives I think was Matty was absolutely fine during that game. Certainly not to blame for the goal. One of his headers looked very aggressive in there. So yeah, hopefully that continues tomorrow. So let's go back a week, gents. I know we've kind of covered the elements of the Montrose game. It was a bit of a mad finish. Now this game turned on what was one of the maddest 30 seconds I think I've ever seen, and that's saying something when it's Clyde. Montrose, I forget, I was about to say Broomhill again. Montrose 2-0 up, they were cruising. I think it was mentioned earlier in the comments, they could have been out of sight, quite frankly. After a fairly even 45, without it being a particularly pleasing on the eye match, for 35 minutes, we get a bit of a doing, quite frankly. Montrose changed things. They looked like the team that we all know they are under Stuart Petrie. We get to the 87th minute, 2-0 behind, and we were perhaps fortunate to do so. However, the boys had started to kind of edge a wee bit kind of closer into their final third, getting a few half chances. They rattle the bar. We go up the park, and in the space of 25 seconds, the bar was probably still rattling by the time Rob Jones got his head on the end of a cross from Ross Cunningham and got us back into the game. Not to be outdone in the drama front, Barry Cudahy, last week's podcast guest, decided to get himself sent off trying to retrieve the ball. It was mad, Boise, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fun 10 minutes, and how we've missed that. I've missed a Wade game, absolute madness. Good scenes in the away end, obviously, but yeah, I think the start of it all was a really important save from Mitch, when one of their players went one-on-one, and he does what he does best and sticks a big leg out and clears it away. Maybe that started some sort of confidence boost for us. As you said, they rattled the bar, and we have a beautiful counter-attack with Ross Cunningham and Ali Love, the two recent new players on the park, absolutely instrumental in it. I think that goal absolutely highlights the skills that Cunningham has. He's quick, he's pacey, he's good with the ball at his feet, and I really hope we can see more from him like that, because that was really unplayable. Left a couple of boys on the deck, and there was a debatable corner. For me, I thought it was a corner. I know Montrose weren't too happy about it, but in my opinion, being behind the goals, thought it was. And I guess in some sort of cruel twist of fate for them, when we have poor defending, they've had it as well. I thought their boys fell asleep at the corner, ball watched, and Splain got the ball, and Ali Love's there to score another important goal for us to bring the point back to Cumbernauld. So, yeah, an absolutely manic last 10 minutes, but did we deserve it, Graham? Was it a smash and grab?
Oh, don't tell me the Wi-Fi issues have got Graham again.
No doubt, a smash and grab. However, see when you look at. No, I'm still here.
Just a wee bit of a delay, Graham.
I'm next door, Paul, so you should hear me even if you can't hear me through the podcast. But I think it was a bit of a smash and grab only because of the time element and how. I'm still here.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll come back to you, Graham. Rory, do you want to just kind of pick up the smash and grab element of the Montrose match whilst we hopefully get Graham sorted?
Obviously, you've got to say smash and grab because of the manner in terms of the late goals, but I thought we actually had a few good chances. When it went 2-0, I think Montrose, rather than just seeing the game out and using a bit of game management, almost wanted more blood. They wanted to add to it. They maybe lost a bit of discipline and defensively and thought, we can get a few goals here. So then they went forward, but then we made positive changes, which meant we got on the front foot. So it turned into a bit of an end-to-end fixture. Ali Love hit the crossbar with his overhead kick. Goodwillie had a few balls played through that if he'd done better could have been a goal. So obviously Mitchell had some great saves and credit to him for that, but I might just be a bit biased, but I thought we deserved the point. And then for the corner incident that Boyce had mentioned, I know them in Montrose Twitter, they had a few tears with regards to that, but there was a clear touch, you could hear it from where I was behind the goal, so I can't have any, it was a clear corner. But then a player that I've been really impressed with is Aaron Splain. I think he's a great addition, but the way that he had the ball, Ballatoni was open, he could have played it, and then you never know, goes over the bar. But he showed a bit of composure in that situation, to take his time, delay a few seconds, and then pop the ball perfectly to Ali Love. So
Aaron just kept his head.
Splain's work that might go swing a leg or laying it off. So he done really well, and then obviously if you watch the highlights back, you can see me just looking absolute donkey on the terrace and jumping about like a wee Wayne. But that's what you've missed.
No, yeah, it really was.
Me and you both, Rory.
Well, boys, so you did just leave your missus just standing and chased after Ali Love.
She understands. She understands.
As long as she does. She's a very understanding girlfriend, so you've got a good in there.
Absolutely.
So, one of the biggest frustrations for me, if we go back to Montrose, the first half, we done all right defensively, but I think we did. We'll test Graham's Wi-Fi, albeit we're in the same one. I don't know how he's managed to break it. The first half we did, through, I would say, some pretty decent pressing and forcing errors as a result, get the ball in decent areas, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, but the decision making, Rory, I think you maybe touched upon it earlier on, in the final third just wasn't there. We just kind of panicked, and eventually the final pass or the final shot just wasn't there. Do you share my frustrations in that front, or am I maybe just being a wee bit picky?
Maybe a bit of both, and hopefully you can hear me okay. But
yeah,
I think what we did the first half last week was, it was Montrose's first home game of the season. Okay, although, you know, maybe expected more of a more of an Angus party atmosphere that wasn't there, but they were going to come out all guns blazing. Okay, so what we did quickly was kind of stop that and counter that by frustrating them really and making the park as narrow as possible, and quite effectively, I might add as well. And then we got the likes of Splain and Gomez and Kev, you know, chasing down the areas of the park where I would say Montrose are at their strongest, which is in the middle of the park. You know, we got on top of, you know, Terry Masson, who I think is a great player at this level, and we managed to stifle that and nick some possession and make them pass it across the back line, and that's where some of our chances came from mistakes on their end, and it was working. But that was the first half. So that's why before I got cut off earlier on, I was saying it was a smash and grab. It was only because Montrose had bigger spells of, you know, the game last week, whereas in the first half it was fairly even. But it was because of the game plan and the setup that we'd managed to put out there. But losing the early penalty, it kind of undone all the good work in the first half. So that's where the frustration lies. It's a totally avoidable situation, and the second goal's as schoolboy. But as Rory said, even before, you know, Ali Love had hit the bar with an overhead kick that again Goody probably would have been raging about. So we were creeping into it, but Splain had actually, you know, as the game opened up, and Rory's right, they were going for blood. They were wanting to win 3, 4, 5-0, and it left more space. And some of the passes that Splain was spreading over, you know, 40, 50-yard passes to find Goody in space were exceptional. And I know that Mitch got the man of the match, and he had a couple of key saves. Okay, but for me, Splain was our best player last week. The composure he showed at the second goal, as Rory said, but just in general, he's, from the minute we first seen him against Albion Rovers, he's the most, you see him on the ball or looking for the ball more than any other player. So yes, he'll make mistakes, he'll make the wrong decisions at times in possession, but he's never hiding. Okay, and that's what I'm looking for from a Clyde player. He's got ability, we can all see that, but I want every single Clyde player from tomorrow to be seen and heard, and I think that's where we can start getting some success from it.
Yeah, got to agree, Graham. Sorry, Rory, on you go.
He reminds me a bit like Chris McStay in terms of he splits opinions. I've heard people getting frustrated at Splain and maybe think, oh, what's he doing? He's lost the ball. But he's trying things. He's brave in possession. He gets the ball and he takes his that extra few yards. He drives forward, tries to play the pass. If it doesn't work, he doesn't hide. He'll get the ball again. He'll try it because he keeps going. He's got a bit of class about him. He can see a pass. He's pulled off a few decent strikes for distance, which have pulled out saves. He puts his body around. He tackles. But I think it's when it comes to players like that, if you see him and he's maybe lost the ball a few times, it's natural for some supporters to just get frustrated, or he's not very good, he's gave the ball away. But then when you actually look at it and see he's the one always showing, he's never hiding. And I think going back to Dumbarton, at times I thought he was trying to do other people's jobs because he was that up for it, maybe a bit frustrated or a bit too keen to maybe impress, or he's getting frustrated, so he's pressing the ball, and then it's then getting passed round him. But if once the team continue to keep playing, once everyone knows exactly what people are about, you'd obviously like to have hoped that would have clicked by the opening day. But I'm seeing a lot of good things from him, and I like the bravery. He might not be a Kevin Nicol in a tackle, but bravery in the sense of always wants the ball, always willing to try it, and he'll take it in little pockets where he's got someone up his backside. He's not afraid, and then that opens up space for other players. So come on, Aaron, Splain.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get many people that will go into tackle like Kevin Nicol, but got to agree. I think Splain's been a standout for me. He's got that technical ability, and as Rory said, he's always shown for the ball, which to some Clyde fans might mean that, as Rory said, they see the mistakes and whatever because it's early in the season. But he's passionate. He wants on the ball all the time, and he's got that passing range that we need. And I think that'll be really good for setting Goodwillie through as well, because there's been a few times he's played one-touch balls around the corner, and that's something that we can really use to our advantage. And we saw that against Montrose as well. Going back to that quickly, I thought that because they were pushing forward for more goals, it obviously opened them up to the counter-attack, which we kind of thought might happen. And by God, did we take advantage of it. So going towards Alloa on Saturday, I don't know if the counter-attack will be the option that we'll go with, but I think Splain will be key on Saturday. And I'd like to see Jones be given another chance up top with Goody as well, because I think he will come good for us once he gets a goal or two.
Yeah, Lynn, just in the comments, there's a lot of basketball chat ongoing. I'm not quite sure what's happening here, but
we're clearly entertaining them tonight.
It's been a really good show. People are giving up and talking about basketball. Lynn just saying that she herself is a massive fan of Splain, and his work rate even off the ball is exceptional. Something I think you kind of touched upon, Rory, is that he does get the ball, and he might give it away from time to time, but it's the fact that he keeps demanding that ball and he's continuing to try things. If he wasn't, I'd be far more concerned about his overall performance. Danny, a few weeks ago, talked, I think it was possibly in the aftermath of Dumbarton, and he was obviously very angry and upset about the match, and saying, if you're not willing to make mistakes, just go. Because as a footballer, you're going to make them. It's when you're not willing to try, that's when things start becoming an issue. So yeah, I think Aaron is going to be a big player for us this season, and when things, not if, when things hopefully start turning around, he's going to be key to that, I feel. So, obviously, we mentioned Wednesday. I said I'll draw a line. It hasn't set us up particularly well looking to tomorrow. The title of the show is A Look Ahead to Alloa. We've got about 15 minutes left to cover it now, gents. Just slightly derailed. It's almost taken us back to where we were at ahead of heading to Montrose with a bit of a kind of bloodied nose after the Dumbarton defeat. Boys, we'll come back to yourself. It's going to be tough tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Alloa have made some really good additions to their team. They're scoring goals. Stephen Boyd and Stephen Skugel look really good. But again, it's an opportunity for the boys to bounce back. We played better against Montrose than we did against Dumbarton, and do you know what? In some way, the result on Wednesday might be a kicker for them to be, we're really not performing here, guys. This is not good enough. We really need to start, getting the finger out, because this isn't going to go well in the league. So that's the positive I'm taking from it. I think we were in a good position to bounce back on Saturday. And what better way to do it than against our old friend Barry Ferguson's Alloa?
Yes, so there are various elements to this match, and Rory, I'll come to yourself. There's quite a few familiar faces, and that's both on the pitch and obviously in the dugout. Is this something that perhaps we as a fan base can almost use to galvanise what is a support that's feeling the pressure as much as the players and the management? I mean, we want to see the team do well. We don't want to be sitting last game of the season hoping beyond hope we can get a result and stay up. We really need to use everything to try and swing this. So can we use these extra factors such as the return, as Boyce say, of Barry Ferguson and Craig Howie, even guys like this?
For the likes of Barry, he tried. He put a lot of work in when he was with us, but it never worked out. And I was delighted to see the back end. I'll admit that. When you think about the players, I don't think we've got any players left that played under Barry, so it won't make any impact to our actual team. But if it can lift the support, and that extra element can get the fans right up for it, wanting to beat him after what happened when he was with us, then it can only be seen as a good thing. But then I see it. I'm actually quite happy it's Barry in the dugout on or tomorrow, given that some of the decision making he's made in team selections whilst he was with us. I hope he does similar tomorrow and picks the wrong team. I looked at the last two league games, and they've already changed formation. So at Peterhead they get beat quite comfortably 2-0, and then for East Fife they changed it, so they've now went to a back three. They've brought in a new boy during the week, who, if he plays as he used to playing alongside these boys, is that something to get at? Or does he stick with Andy Graham, who's 38 next month, who he's praised with the experience there, but we know what he's like. He chops and changes. If someone said the wrong thing to him at training, they'll never see him again. So any sort of little thing that you can use to get yourself up for it or for an advantage, then we need to use it. But at the end of the day, it's just another league game against a pretty good side, but they're there to be beaten. Without seeing the new boy, they were vulnerable at the back the last two games. We've got the best striker out with the Premier League. Bring them on.
Graham, right, I'm going to put you in the spot then. So quite a few changes are as expected, especially after Wednesday. I think the lineup more in line with what we saw at Montrose, or would you go for something different? Is this about playing to our strengths? Our strengths at the moment certainly is not defensively. Do we need to really go at them?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is play our best players in their best positions. I think that's as obvious as it may seem. Okay, I'm not.
It's simple, isn't it?
Well, to me, it's not happened so far. However, if we play our best players in their best positions, like I was, stupidly, optimistic ahead of the Barton game to think that we were going to do or also perform at. But we shouldn't be worrying about what other teams do in this league. However, in terms of what Rory's saying, or you're saying, sorry, about galvanising the fans, the fans at the Barton game were excellent, okay? And we're, behind the team for the majority of the game on what was a really, really poor performance, okay? So the fans were definitely behind the boys then. They were good up at Montrose as well. So the fact that Barry's coming back is probably just a sideshow. But if we get our best players playing in their best position with a point to prove, then I don't see why, at the very, very least, we can't put a performance in. And if we put a performance in at home with a good backing, and yes, there will be some Barry chants going, I'm sure. But it's really what we do as a support to get behind their team and what they conversely do on the pitch that's most important. So yes, there'll be changes. Okay, that goes without saying. But we've also got to try and play to our strengths, and we've got to play our best players in their best positions, okay, without any fear of what the opposition do.
Yeah, you do give me the fear, Graham, because you've used the same line that you did use before the Dumbarton game, that let's not focus on other teams and focus on what we can do.
But we can't influence what other teams are going to do. Rory's right in the fact that Barry, for all his hard-working qualities and professionalism, that maybe didn't mesh as well with a team at our level. He is tempted to change things if it's not quite going his way for 5 minutes. So there is that element there that he might make changes as well. But we can only, every single game this season, we can only try and put out the best team that we possibly can to win a game. And maybe even to an extent not worry. Last week, we did focus on the opposition for the first half, but it did work. We played a game that was designed to stop Montrose controlling the game. So we're the home team tomorrow. We've got the backing of the team. We've got some really, really good players that, if allowed to play or if picked in the position to play with freedom, with confidence, like we did against your Airdries and Albion Rovers, because the team that we're seeing just now is night and day compared to that. But if we're allowed to play in that fashion with the players in those positions, then it gives us the best chance of winning the game. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. Comment here from Red Scotland. Thanks for getting involved, Red. Saying, surely a player like David Goodwillie is a top-level performer for a Clyde team. He used to be highly thought of. He still is very highly thought of, and he is a top-level performer for Clyde. He has been since he came to the club. We haven't seen the best of David Boyce, it's fair to say, this season to date. A lot has obviously been made of where he's been played and the kind of chopping and changing of the lineup. Are you fully expecting to see David back in a more centralised, kind of central centre-forward role tomorrow?
I think he's got to be. When we've got the best player, our best striker outside of the Premier League, you play him at centre-forward, you play him at the position that he's scored 25 plus goals a season for the last 4 years. You don't change that. And I really hope that the management have learned that and we won't see that again. But on the game tomorrow, I think any team in this league can beat anyone. I think we've seen that. I think it's a really competitive league. I will stick to my guns and say on our day we can beat anyone in this league. It's consistency that will be the real challenge for us this season. And we've not started off well, but there's 34 games left of the season. That's horrible math, but whatever it is.
34.
34 games of the season left. There's obviously time to improve. I'm not terribly worried. The start's not been great. Let's not beat about the bush. But we get a good result tomorrow. I think we can push on. Rory mentioned they've got a new boy in, Niang, who played with Partick Thistle. So hopefully the Clyde support can give him a rough debut, knowing that. He's a decent player, but I think, again, as Rory said, it's going to be his first game and he doesn't know the boys, so probably the best time to play them, because I reckon he will be a starter for them. And it's nice to see Celtic fans in the comments get behind us against Barry tomorrow. And one of them, Donny Boy even saying that he'll follow us. So absolutely, do get involved, and we'd love to see you at Broadwood. We're always looking for new followers. But yeah, I just think we've got to give a right go tomorrow and see what we get. But yeah, got a slight confidence about tomorrow. I think we could get something.
Right, Rory, there's been a couple of requests for scores and lineups. We've got enough time. Give me a rough starting 11. Who are you going for, and what's the score going to be?
Well, we'll start off with the score line. I think definitely both teams will score. They've got good options. The boys mentioned School, Boyd, Salmon, Alan Troughton. He's not featured much in pre-season from what I can see. So they can all cause us problems. So we're going to concede 2. I would rather not, but we'll concede 2. But we're going to be firing on all cylinders going forward. We'll take the game right to them. We'll get an early lead. The fans will be right up for it. And we'll win 4-2. I'm undecided
Am I getting
about
some
my
goal
players.
scorers?
Goody's going to get 2. Splain, after bigging him up, he's going to get 1. And then Cunningham. That's my 4 goals. Oh, 3 goal scorers, but the 4 goals.
Right, Boise. Right, hit me. Hit me with yours.
I'm going to be positive as well. I'm going to go for my favourite scoreline of 2-1 to Clyde. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet because the defence still has to be worked on. More than happy to be proven wrong on that. But I think Goody will get us off to a good start. We'll concede, and then a wee goal, just maybe with 10 minutes left or something. It could be anyone, but why not the new boy Matty from a corner? Let's go with that. That would be nice to see. So yeah, I think we should probably keep the same team that started Montrose, and maybe have Cunningham and Love on for maybe nickel and another. I'd like to see Cunningham and Love start that game, but 2-1 from me.
Okay, Graham, we've got a couple of minutes, so over to yourself. Don't take up the minutes because I've got a few shout out things I need to do then. So
no, that's fine. So I'll leave the score then because I made a what of it last time. So I'll just go for the formation. I'll go for Mitchell. I'll go with Monroe at right back with Ballatoni and Matty in the centre and Livingston at left back with Love and Cunningham on the flanks, Gomez and Splain in the middle, and Jones and Goody up top.
So you're going old school 4-4-2?
Yep, I agree with Boyce. I think
football dinosaur. What you like?
Well, the criticism of Rob Jones, he's been a most prolific player up front as well. But get Goody playing next to him and see if they can work as a partnership. And as Rory said as well, if we've got a possibility of a 38-year-old centre half who's nearly as old as me playing, then get Goody run about him as well with some flick-ons. So yeah, I'm not going to go for the score.
Is there a big asterisk next to that Nearly, Graham?
Yeah.
Mark obviously reminding us that Cuddy's suspended. I think we'll miss his enthusiasm. But
so that's why he wasn't in my 11. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just a few things. You will notice, obviously, we don't have a guest on tonight. That was almost done on purpose because the last few guests that we've had on have either went on to score own goals, be sent off, or conceded 3. So it was maybe best we left it for a week and see if that curse passes.
It could go horribly for me because I'm doing commentary, so we'll see what issues I have tomorrow now that I've been on this.
Well, hopefully none, and you're commentating on a positive result for the Bully. We do have some guests lined up. We've got some guests from throughout the decades. Hopefully, in the next few weeks, we should be able to announce Brian Carrigan joining the show. We've got Jerry McCabe and many others. I've got Gordon Sidney phoning as many of ex-Clyde players as we can. If there are anyone that you do want to see, I know a lot of the fans have come back to me through Twitter and asked for kind of board and various other kind of backroom staff. We are working on that, and hopefully we can get that over the line for you and do a kind of Q&A session with the guys that you do want to hear from. Just a few shout outs before we do finish up here. So the match tickets, walk-up tickets are available. You don't need to purchase in advance. And North Lanarkshire Council have confirmed that the food kiosk will be open. So it's pies all round. And I'm sure if you speak to Graham or Boise, they'll be happy to buy you your pie. No.
Oh.
Nah, I like that. The Area Lounge, the Area Lounge is open tomorrow, and if you are an 1877 Rewards subscriber, you can go to the Area Lounge and you're allowed to take a guest. So effectively, it makes it £2.50 per person for your entry. Hopefully, we can try and make that as kind of busy as possible. We've got a lot of clubs who have quite active and positive social clubs. Let's see if we can maybe try and get that for the Bully Wee. Boise, the stream tomorrow, you mentioned it. Have you got any details on that, just for the guys that might want to check it in?
Yeah, so the stream will be starting just before 3. I'll put all the rest of the details on the podcast Twitter, and you'll be glad to know that you'll be hearing my dulcet tones throughout the game. So I'll try and call it with a bully wee tinted glasses on. Just on the 1877 rewards, Paul, I think the cheapest monthly subscription is £10. And that gets you into the area. I think that's fantastic value. You can get in 2 people in for the price of a pint or less, and all the money goes to the player budget. So I think anyone wanting to go to the area obviously wants to invest in the club. So get involved, guys.
Absolutely. One last thing, audio commentary. Now this is now available for visually impaired fans. I think this is a fantastic thing that the club are doing. So this is for anyone who, as I say, is visually impaired. You will be able to listen to audio commentary of the match. If anyone is looking to take up this service, if you can contact the Disability Liaison Officer, Gerard McGeechy, I almost said his name wrong, and you can get Gerard at gerard.mcgeechy@clydefc.co.uk, or alternatively by phone on 01236 341 711, and I'll repeat that because of just in case, 01236 341 711. So, big match tomorrow, boys. I really do appreciate your time. Hopefully the sound has been okay. I'm in a bit of an echo chamber in here. Going forward, hopefully have some different setups and maybe in and around Broadwood as well. All the best to the boys tomorrow, and hopefully they're watching at home. It's huge, and it could be huge for the rest of the season. So let's see what the state of play is at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Graham, Rory, Boyce, thanks for your time. Thanks for everyone in the comments, and until next week, come on the Bully Wee.
On the Clyde.